There we are.
Dream is live.
Hey, hello to anybody who is out there right now or maybe later listening. I'm Sherry Richert Belul, author of The Love List of a Lifetime and End of Life Planner, and also Say It Now, a book about giving creative gifts to the people we love. And I am here with a brand new friend. And I even get to call her Nikki because we're already friends. This is Nikki Scimone, who is a grief coach that I met through Get Griefy, right? Is that where we met?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Nikki, I would just want to say, I want to refer to something we were just talking about before we went live, which was I was saying how easygoing you are and how grateful I am. And I know this doesn't really actually have much to do with our conversation, except that it just dropped in for me. I've been in some really deep grief over a whole bunch of things over the last number of months, and they keep coming. And I just realized when we went live and you were across from me, and how grateful I was to just see your face, and that actually that quality of yours of being, I'm going to project, comfortable in your skin, even with the hard stuff, is what I'm going to project onto you, and that how much of a gift that is anytime in life, but especially as a grief coach. So I know we weren't even like planning to go there, but that's what just dropped in my mind that I wanted to talk to you for a moment about who you are as a person.
Wow. I love starting here. Let's just like swan dive right into it. No, I appreciate that. I think, to be honest, I'm not ever a person that likes to talk about like the qualities that I like about myself. I tend to be more of like a self-deprecating, like add in some humor about myself to make sure we stay humble. But no, I am a person that enjoys depth. I enjoy like being a person that goes deep with others and with myself. I'm not really like a small talk or surface level person. Like I just really enjoy the meat. Like tell me how you're really feeling. Like let's go there. I don't know why I'm built that way, but I'm very comfortable being that's sort of who I am for the people in my life, my family and my friends. Like I'm the shoulder that you can come to. I'm the advice giver. That's just kind of how I show up. I've done all of the personality tests and they all tell me that I am the peacemaker. That's I don't know. I guess that's how I'm wired, right? And I think that's what makes me a good fit for the grief space, is that I want peace for people. Um, I want everybody to experience peace and harmony in their life and joy. And I think because it's been absent from my own life, right? Like I think the reason, we connect in this space, I've lost my father.
Yes.
At a young age, I was 24. So I've experienced what it feels like to have the absence of peace.
Yes.
And I know we did talk about this before, and I'm also very open. I do live with a great deal of anxiety in my life, pre my father's death and after. So yeah, I crave peace in my own life, and I want peace for other people. And I guess it's just kind of how I'm wired, and I'm comfortable there. Like I'm comfortable with the hard stuff. And I know it's not for everybody. Vulnerability is really scary for people, but I'm very comfortable being deep. And I guess I don't know, I want to be that for others. So
Well, and Nikki, I love this because I was just rereading something on your website right before we went live, which is, grief needs space. Grief needs space to be seen. It needs to be heard. It needs to be felt.
mhm.
And I know I agree with you, like that it can be really hard to be vulnerable. It can be hard to feel the feelings that are
Yeah.
hard. And it's been my own experience, especially over these past number of months where I've had like piggyback grief after piggyback grief. It's been my own experience that the grief and the connection, and I'm going to even say joy because it's not like a big bright glittery joy, but it's a different kind of joy. The connection that can come from having an honest, real, vulnerable conversation, to me, has been just absolutely astounding, right? That, I will frequently say, my company is called Simply Celebrate. And I like to tell people that it's like, grief and celebration are two sides of the same coin, right?
Mhm.
So it's like the depth of our grief allows for the breadth of our celebration and joy.
Yep.
And I feel that with you. And I think again, I love the surprise. I love your willingness to just get on. It's not like we had bullet points. We didn't know what we were going to do.
No.
But I love that this is where it just sort of naturally started, because I think this is so important that people, if there's anybody listening right now or later to the replay who's going through grief of any kind, loss of any kind, to know that there's someone like Nikki out there who it's a safe space to feel. But in my mind, just from knowing you a little bit, it's not like this, like, how are you doing? Are you okay? Like that kind of, I get scared by that kind of real, like, intense,
Yes.
And you have, I think the reason that I'm talking about your lightness of being is really what it is because that can be medicine when we're talking about hard stuff, I think. Yeah. What do you think?
I agree. Yeah. You don't want to be, and that's too, I think, why my approach has been built around that very wholesome and down to earth vibe. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a licensed therapist. So I'm not going to sit there and be like, let's unpack your trauma. Tell me everything that's bothering you and let's go dark. Like, absolutely not. Like I sort of like to have like a big sister vibe when I'm with you, or like a friend next door. Like, let's sit down with our coffee and like, I'm here to talk about the hard stuff, but like in a very just casual and heartfelt way. I'm not like, I don't think I'm an intimidating person. In fact, I don't like intimidating people. Like, calm down. Like, I want to be wholesome. And I that's the energy that I try to bring into the room of like, I welcome your grief, but I also welcome the good stuff, like, because there is good stuff. I like to have them together. And I don't only want to talk about the dark. Like, let's talk about the light. Let's bring in the light. How do we bring in the light? That's what's cool about coaching. So.
Oh, thank you. This is so beautiful. I was, in all transparency. So I was walking outside today and just the tears were coming, I was just feeling the feels. And then I started doing, I don't know, spontaneously, I started like, there was a beautiful rose and I was smelling the rose and I just put my hands on my heart and was like, I'm grieving and I'm safe. And this rose is exquisite,
Oh, I love that.
Like just because I can feel very unsafe in some of these feelings, some of these big intense feelings. I can feel like they're going to drown me. And I actually learned I'm grieving and I'm safe from Irina, who I talked to the other day, who's a sleep coach. And she was suggesting that at night, because at night can be very panicky when we're in grief. Yep. Anyhow, I added the little part about the joy because I realized for me, that's the simple celebration part, is that, that I can be grieving, I can be crying, and I can smell a rose, and that can all be there at once.
Yes, absolutely. What a beautiful technique that you learned, though. And I love how it's a good technique for sleep and when your eyes wide open, because the moments are hard, whether the sun is up or down. It's all the time. So it's like whenever that hits you, what a beautiful technique. I love that. And I love that you added in like the layer and also like sense and like nature is such a big part. Like, that's a good coping mechanism for me too. I like to get outside. I like to put my feet in the earth. Sometimes I'll put my hands on like a tree, like put your hands in the soil. And it's like, oh my God, I'm so grateful for like the earth beneath my feet. And I'm so grateful for, it doesn't even matter, like the sun. When I see the sun like shining through the trees in my yard, I'm like, I'm grateful for the sun. Or if I can see the moon, I'm like, I'm grateful for the moon. Like it's something so small, but like, yes, like you said, that you were able in that moment, I'm grieving and I'm in pain, but I also can see the beauty in this rose. Like I'm the coexisting of emotions is like something that transformed my own life. So I love that you have found your way to that. I think when we're able to hold space for both and not choose, it actually gives you freedom. I think it gives you freedom and I don't like a peace like washes over you of like, I don't have to pick. I can have them both. They can both be here.
Exactly, Nikki. And this is so beautiful because I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm going to tell it in a very, very quick way. But it's like back when I was a young woman, I did go through a huge suicidal phase. And I felt like an iron wall was closing in on me, is really like what it felt like. And I was led to a meditation class. And, you focus on the in-breath and the out-breath. And I literally, on one of the in-breaths, I heard, I don't want to kill myself right now. And it was like, it was, I always say now, it was like a pinprick of light in that big iron wall, right?
Yep.
Because it was like suddenly, this was my first experience that I remember of understanding they can both coexist. Until then, I was just depressed. I didn't want to be on the earth. That was
Yeah.
all there was.
Yep.
But when I had that pinprick of light, and that was kind of the rose this morning, right? I'm grieving. I feel so sad. And look at this,
Yep.
the smell of this rose, the beauty of the pale pink.
Yep.
And so I love what you're saying. And I'm going to ask you because I really want to talk about, I know that you lead journaling. And I'm wondering when you're doing your journaling workshops, do both sides come in, or are you kind of leaning toward, one or the other? What's that like?
Like one or the other, like grief or joy.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, I like to sort of flow from grief to joy. I like to start, this is how I sort of am even with like clients. I like to start always with witnessing grief, bringing it to the table. So welcoming in like how you're experiencing the grief now. And then it's sort of a journey that you flow to the future and getting to that hope. So I absolutely both. I think my answer would be both. Like because again, I never want to, we cannot erase the grief. It's not going anywhere. It is with us for life. I know that I will grieve the loss of my dad until my last breath. So I
Wow.
always want to bring the grief into the room, but guide you to the light and looking towards the future with a little bit more hope than maybe you entered. So that's kind of how the journaling workshops go. They're writing, we use a writing prompt. So they're questions and they're very deep questions, right? And then, so they start being very, welcome the grief, but then they end up being lighter. So I never want to leave a person feeling heavy. I always try to leave them feeling a little bit lighter if we can.
I love that. I love that. I want to say a quick hello to Jimmy, who's just, it's good to see Jimmy. I also want to say we're streaming to 3 different places, so I can't see all the comments, which I apologize to anybody, but it's nice when I do see somebody popping in. And right, so and I want to speak to that because journaling, I have been a lifelong journaler myself, and I think for me, it is one of the fastest ways to come home to myself, right? To kind of, right, like I'm here with you is kind of the feeling I get. And to have a guided, a grief coach leading you with prompts, I'm imagining, and I'm going to have you tell me if this is true, that there's both that sense of like, I'm here with myself, but I'm also being guided by someone who's been through this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's what I do enjoy about it is you're not alone. Because I kind of feel like when you're journaling, I don't know if you've experienced this, but it can be intimidating to grab a journal when you're new to it, right? And you're like, I don't even know where to start. Like,
Yes.
I don't even know what I'm feeling. This feels dark. I'm sitting alone in my bed and my grief is like pouring out of me and I don't know like how to write this down. So I think what I really love, and I've attended workshops and now I'm on the other side facilitating them. But what I witness is a community of healing happening, not only with the facilitator guiding, but there's other people there too. So you're seeing other people that are also collectively healing and reflecting together. So it's sort of like this may be intimidating. I'm answering like a very deep question, but that person right next to me is answering it in their own way. And then we love to open it up for discussion. And we say, when we're done with the 5 or 10 minutes, anybody can share. And it's no pressure at all. You can say nothing. You can just listen, or you can read every line that you've written. And I am a sharer. My hand always goes up when I was attending. I love to share what I've read because it's cathartic. It gets it off of your chest. It gets it off of your heart. And if you're just listening, you're getting something out of that too, because you're hearing someone else's story and you likely are finding bits of yourself in other people's words, which I love. So facilitating it is like a joy, I think. And I've seen, and people cry and we welcome the tears. It's a safe space. We actually have, can I plug my journal workshop that I do have coming up? On April 29th, we have one coming up and it's virtual. So on Zoom, It's 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be guided by myself and another grief advocate in the Get Griefy Collective. Her name is Liz Quinn. So I just have to plug that because it's such a, we have openings for people and we want people to join. Cause yeah, it's great. You're not alone in your reflections. You're in a safe space. And I can't say enough about the healing powers of journaling. So yeah.
Well, and one thing that I know I'm doing a lot of projecting, but I think this is probably true. But it's like, so I have a lot of journals from those dark days when I was really in a bad place. And one of the things I know now that I didn't know then is that those journals are full of darkness. And there wasn't any guidance either internally or externally at that moment. For me, I mean, now when I use journaling, I do try to coach myself, right? I try to not just make it, which I know there's a lot to be said, certainly for feeling our feelings and getting it out. And I also feel like, to your point a few minutes ago, that it's like sometimes for someone like me, who's full of, that kind of anxiety and the depression is right there knocking on the door, it can spiral me. So instead of it being like a release, it can be a tornado of feelings. And I'm projecting again, I'm guessing that having a guided journaling experience, and again, we could do it with ourselves, but just to be conscious that can be a very different experience than, oh my gosh, this feels terrible. I feel so awful. This is why I feel awful. Here's why else I feel. You know what I mean?
Yes. No, I agree. No, it's so true. And it's not all sunshine and rainbows for everybody. And I know, I think it's a magical experience, but that's not to discount like the very heaviness of the emotions that you're putting onto that paper. And it's so true. It's like, and I think that's where the tears come in. It all depends on like where you are in your grief. Cause I've had people, attend that have like suffered a very recent loss. So those feelings are raw. Like that is a raw nerve and emotion, and you're just like bare. And it's not always like this, light thing. And I think that's why the questions that we use, like I try to end it with something light because I know how heavy it can be to leave those spaces. And you're like, wow, I just feel like I just opened up like Pandora's box. And now like, what do I do? And that's why I also think like, a journaling practice and a journaling workshop shouldn't be the only avenue that you go, right? It's like, if you think that you still need like a therapist or medication or anything else, like there are so many other things that we can add in because like, it's not, these are big things that we're unpacking. Like, I don't take that lightly at all. So
I love that. And I love what you just said. And I want to underscore that. Like, so in my own process, very early on, I had four deaths happen really fast, close together. And I started just saying yes to anything someone suggested. I read this book and it helped. Okay.
Give it to me.
I did, like Reiki. Okay. I'll try that. Massage, plant medicine journeys. I mean, you name it. I just said yes, 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 knowing that, and journaling, of course, was a piece of it. And just knowing that some things were going to be right for me, right? Because everything, like you just said, there's so many resources and we're blessed to live in a world, and to know that maybe something that might at first sound like that's not for me. I just want to encourage people to try to say yes to things because we don't know what it's going to be like. One of the unlocks for something that, for me, sometimes there's pieces of the grief that I can't let go of. One of those is regret. Right. So there might be some leftover regret from a relationship or, and it's like, there might be just different tools or resources or people that can help us through different phases, as you spoke about too.
Yes. I love that you just brought that up. It's so true. It's like I sort of think of it as like a griefy toolbox, right? Like there's so
Yeah.
many things that we can do. And you're so right. It's not a one size fits all. I myself tried a lot of different things. And even like later on in my grief, like my dad's been gone 13 years and I only recently found my way to like breath work and like meditation and
Oh,
Reiki, like all those things. And I am so grateful that I found them now. I wish I had some of those earlier, but I didn't. And I think that, in my experience, I joined a support group 2 years after my dad died. It was a grief support group and it was 13 weeks long. And I knew, like you said, like I knew it was going to be hard for me. I didn't know if it would be the right fit, but I knew that it was going to open my wounds and it
yeah.
was going to be painful. And what I learned, and I know this is a very cliche saying, but I do believe it to my core. The only way out of our pain is through it. Like
Yes.
I just like I know it's cliche and it's cringy, but like I found that I was sitting in this support group and I was like, this is ripping me apart. This is ripping my insides apart. But I know that I have to move through it if I want any sort of joy in my life. Like I don't know. So I encourage you, like if something's really painful, yes, it's painful. And I don't want to say but, I want to say and there is a way through it. There's a way. I just always want to offer hope to people that there's a way through the pain. If it's too much, you can always stop and you can always pivot, try something else, restart, whatever you want. But like it is painful. The work is painful, but it's worth it. Like it's so worth it. It's so worth it. So
Yeah, and actually it's funny because I was thinking that same saying before you said it. And I always say to my son, there's a reason things are cliches, and it's usually because there's truth in them, right? And I'm
love them.
thinking right now, and I want to put a plug because I mention it all the time, but I am a huge fan of Anderson Cooper's podcast, All There Is, right?
Yep.
And
Same.
Anderson makes no bones about talking about how he shoved down his grief for decades. And
Yep.
bless his heart, like I'm always like moved to tears when I hear him talk about like, he'll say, I think he's like 58. I'm 58 years old and I can't talk about my father right now without crying. And that happened decades ago. But it's
Yep.
because, it's like we think we can just push things down. And I agree with you. I just think, for me, I'm like, I just want to go through it now, rather than,
postpone it. You're just postponing it. Like it's not going anywhere. I did the same thing. I postponed it. I was like, I'm just gonna put this in a closet and I will deal with this later.
Yeah. And then you're like always looking at that closet or glancing
Yes.
over, like, I know. Yeah.
It's very true. I just think of the visual of like, have you ever tried to shove like a balloon under the water in like a pool or like a bouncy ball? Like what happens when you shove something under the water? It just shoots right back up. It's like, that's how I felt about my grief. And why that I did have multiple moments where I was like, oh, this is now hitting me in the face because I've not dealt with it. So
Yes. Yeah. Oh, Nikki, I just realized I told you we were going to talk for 15 minutes, and I'm like, okay, I could talk to you all day long. And I just want to say thank you to you for showing up. And again, we didn't have any bullet points. We didn't know what we were going to talk about. But as I said to you before we went live, and I really feel this, like may there be someone watching this either live or sometime later on, they just happen to be scrolling and they hear something that really like is just what they need to know that it's perfectly, I was going to say fine, but even more than fine. It is so hard to go through grief, and please ask for help. Please reach out for tools. Please let yourself go through it, even though it's so hard. There are so many people. I mean, again, like look at you. And I just want to say this, right? Like I'm going through an incredibly hard time and you've lifted my spirits simply with presence, right? And that to let ourselves have that, that's, those pinpricks of light, like let ourselves have those moments where we can rest in connection and joy. That's a quieter joy than maybe we used to have before the grief. But I really feel that from you. I feel like you bring, it's not just what you're teaching or what you're journaling about or the prompts. It's also that you're bringing, you said wholesome, and I thought wholehearted also. You're very wholehearted. And
thank you. And so are you. Yes, I appreciate that. I want to validate you too. I know you're going through a lot in your own life and you're showing up in the midst of it. Like you're showing up in it and having this conversation with me. And I know that that's very difficult. I myself couldn't even get to this place until many years after I processed my own pain, but you're in it and you're having the conversation and you're showing up with your presence and your wholeheartedness too. So I just want to give you some love and support right back.
Thank you. And I just, okay, this is definitely the last thing now. But the reason I can do this is because this is what is medicine for me, right? Like if I'm sitting here by myself as I was, 2 hours ago, it's easy to get pulled into the
in your head.
Yeah. Right. But when I'm connected to someone and we're actually, like you said, we're having a real conversation, it's not like I'm talking to you and we're just talking about, the weather.
Yeah.
It's real medicine because it's opening a door for me. Like what I'm feeling is okay. What I'm feeling is accepted. And I can be in connection with someone during it. And I really, really want people. It's easy to hide. It's so easy to hide when we are grieving, but please don't, find at least one or two people you trust, maybe get a coach, someone like Nikki who has the experience and that wholeheartedness to sit with you in it. So I hope we have a chance to do another conversation. I loved this, Nikki.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much. This was lovely. You are a light. So thank you.
As are you. And thank you to anybody who's here right now or later. Much love to you. I'm going to put Nikki's website information in the comments after these. So take a look at that. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.